Good day, this is Professor Will, CBMD PhD. Today is Tuesday, September 28, 2021. It is 1:36 and 15 seconds, AM Eastern Standard Time. In today's research, sunlight exposure. Before I get started on my video, I would just like to mention that my grandmother took me out school shopping back when I was a teenager, and she had bought me this sweater. That was 30 years ago. She was a really beautiful lady and loved to shop for me. And today I'm wearing the sweater as a tribute. The sunlight exposure guidelines may need to be revised. Date September 27, 2021. Source, King's College London. Previously published solar exposure guidelines for optimal vitamin D synthesis based on a study of skin samples may need to be revised. Researchers had tested the optimum ultraviolet radiation UVR wavelengths for human skin production of vitamin D in sunlight. UVR from sunlight can cause sunburn and skin cancer. However, it is the most important source of vitamin D that is essential for human bone development and maintenance. Public health advice on sunlight exposure takes both risk and benefits into account. Calculating the potential risk and benefits from sunlight exposure is not simple, because the health outcomes from UVR exposure vary considerably, with wavelength within the sun's UVR spectrum. For example, the sun's UVR contains less than 5% short wavelength UVB radiation, but this is responsible for over 80% of the sunburn response. And each health outcome from solar exposure has its own unique wavelength dependency. The association between specific UVB wavelengths and vitamin D production was determined more than 30 years ago in skin samples. However, the finding is less well established, and there have been doubts about its accuracy. These doubts compromise risk-benefit calculations for optimal solar exposure. Researchers measured blood vitamin D levels in 75 healthy young volunteers before, during, and after partial or full body exposure to 5 different artificial UVR sources with different amounts of UVB radiation to weigh the trade-off between the benefits of solar exposure, which include vitamin D synthesis, versus the risk of sunburn and skin cancer. They then compared the results with those that would be predicted from the old ex vivo vitamin D study and found the previous study is not an accurate predictor of benefit from UVR exposure. The authors recommend a simple systematic correction of the ex vivo wavelength dependency for vitamin D. The new study means that many risk-benefit calculations for solar UVR exposure must be reviewed with a revised version of the wavelength dependency for vitamin D. The research study shows that risk versus benefit calculations from solar exposure may need to be re-evaluated. The results from the study are timely because the Global Technical Committee that sets UVR standards will be able to discuss the findings of this paper to re-evaluate the wavelength dependency of vitamin D. Good day, this is Professor Will, CBMD PhD, on microbiology, bioinformatics, and pathophysiology. This video was created for educational purposes only. Hope you enjoyed listening. Until next time, have an awesome day.